Welcome to another episode of Grounded Spirits podcast where we're talking about the Emerald Tablets. I'm your host, Laura Lynn, and Grounded Spirits is all about learning how to stay rooted while flying high. And this tablet, number 9, the key to freedom of space, helps us learn how to do just that. So let's get started. So we are at the top of page 53. If you want to follow along with the PDF, you can send me a DM with your email and I will send this to you for free, or you could email me at groundedspirits@gmail.com and just say like PDF or the Emerald Tablets or something along those lines, and I will send it right over, like I said again, for free. And then my handle for Instagram is just Grounded Spirits. So let's get started here. On the first stanza, it says, "List ye, O man, hear ye my voice, teaching of wisdom and light in this cycle, teaching ye how to banish the darkness, teaching ye how to bring light into thy life." And this is what he's saying throughout all of the tablets. So 1 through 8, he's teaching us the wisdom of his experience and how he was able to achieve this level of, dare I say, nirvana, of getting so high up with his wisdom to reach this form of enlightenment, to be able to separate his soul from his body so that his soul is truly free. And he says in tablet 8, and I'm sure it's going to go over it again here in tablet 9, that only the formless is what's actually the form. So again, like the formless would be the soul, where it doesn't really have a form when it's outside of the body. But by being able to reach this level of enlightenment through knowledge that turns into wisdom, that turns into the enlightenment, is how to achieve this level of being formed within your soul without your body. So let's continue on. It says, "Seek ye, O man, to find the great pathway that leads to life, that leads to eternal life as a sun." And here, life and sun are fully capitalized. So what it's saying is that by reaching this level of nirvana, we're able to become as bright as an actual star. So to have this form of eternal life in maybe like tablet 2 or 3, maybe even 4, he says that he is no longer chained to his body, that he can go to the underworld, he can go to heaven, he can go to other dimensions, he can go to all these different other places. He calls it like the edge of the beyond, or like beyond the beyond or something, beyond the barrier, how he said it in the last tablet number 8, and that our souls are actually just this like ball of fire, just like the sun. So he's saying by getting rid of the darkness and going into the light, by going into the light, he means to keep growing, to keep pursuing this kind of positive freedom, this form of self-actualization. Maslow, who actually popularized the term self-actualization, I say popularized it because he wasn't the first one to use this term, and he notes that in his work. But he said that self-actualization is only for the individual, but then self-transcendence is going beyond the individual to be able to see life in this new way. And again, it's by going into the light, which again just means to keep growing. So let's continue on the second stanza. It says, "Draw ye away from the veil of the darkness. Seek to become a light in the world. Make thyself a vessel for light, a focus for the sun of this space." And again, light and sun every time in the first and second stanza is capitalized with just the first letter instead of the whole one, like in that second line of the second stanza where life and sun are fully capitalized. "Lift thou thine eyes to the cosmos. Lift thou thine eyes to the light. Speak in the words of the dweller, the chant that calls down the light. Sing thou the song of freedom. Sing thou the song of the soul. Create the high vibration that will make thee one with the whole. Blend all thyself with the cosmos. grow into one with the light. Be thou a channel of order, a pathway of law to the world. One in the third line from the bottom and law at the last line of the stanza are fully capitalized. So what that is talking about is the one would be like God, like source. And law is that law of balance. So here at Grounded Spirits, we're trying to walk on that balance where we are fully grounded and we are still flying high, where we're not choosing one or the other. We can be both. And by being both, that's how we can become truly ourselves. And I say ourselves instead of saying truly human, because inherently, because we have a soul, there is a piece of us that is divine. So it's going with the divine part, so the flying high part, and the human part, which is the staying rooted or the grounded part, and bringing them together to be able to sing this song of the soul. In my book Monterey, I talk about the main character, Reina, she's like up in space somewhere, and she views these lights that they look like as if like a guitar being strummed, and she's talking about how all of these lights, like our life is like a song, and that's why our life has ups and downs, because that's what's making the sound. If we were just stagnant, if we weren't growing, then there wouldn't be much of the song, right? Or even with our voices, if we just talk like this, then we're just monotone, and there's no inflection or anything, and there's nothing to think that this is exciting, you know. I couldn't even do it that long, but yeah, so I think that's like what he's talking about with this, sing the song of freedom, sing the song of the soul. And it's interesting how how do I say this? They are almost identical except for that freedom and soul. So it's also saying, if we think about it in a logical sense, like, or like a mathematical sense, this is the only thing that's changing. If everything else is equal, it's saying that these are also equal. So in order to feel true freedom, we have to free the soul. And just like at the beginning of this stanza with lift thine eyes to the cosmos, it's equating cosmos and light. So he's saying like cosmos is part of God, the light is also part of God, and they are equal. And I keep saying he, but let me tell you who he is. Our author is Thoth the Atlantean. So yes, Atlantis. And like I said on the first episode, we are taking his word for what he's saying, whether it is true or not, as far as like, is it just a story? Is it folklore? Is it actual fact that these tablets were actually written down thousands of years ago? That these stories were written thousands of years ago on these tablets that are invincible. Regardless of that, we're taking what Thoth is telling us and what I'm doing here on the podcast is I was putting it into layman's terms so that we can understand it and apply it to our life. He also talks about this in, I believe it was tablet 7, maybe tablet 8, where he says that the whole point of life, or the whole point of knowledge, is to free the soul. But only when we use knowledge and apply it to ourselves, apply it to the soul, instead of the way that the education system is doing it today, where we're just learning to get knowledge to pass a test, to get a piece of paper that gives us status and achievement, the diploma. Instead of seeing like how it could actually benefit us as humans to be able to open up this divine part within ourselves, which is the soul, in order to free it so that we can allow ourselves our fullest expression, to reach our full potential, which again is self-actualization, and it all just kind of goes full circle there. All right, then it goes into thy light, O man, is the great light. Light is fully capitalized throughout this entire stanza. I'm going to read it one more time. Thy light, O man, is the great light, shining through the shadow of flesh. Free must thou rise from the darkness before thou art one with the light. So it's calling our bodies darkness. That's wild. that we have to shine the great light, which is our soul. That's why it's fully capitalized, because it belongs to God, to source. And that we have to be able to overcome the darkness, the limitations of our own body, because our body is trying to control us to be like everybody else. And that's why, like, at first I thought that he was saying to get rid of ego altogether, like how he says in the last stanza, create that high vibration that will make thee one with the whole. But no, what he's saying is that you have to know who you are. That's the whole staying rooted part of grounded spirits. To know your values, to know who you are, that remains unchanged no matter who you're with, or what society is telling you, or what the church is telling you, or what your parents are telling you. Who are you as an individual? Can you separate yourself from every other single person to know who you truly are? And then once you're able to do that, that is how you can shine this great light through this shadowy flesh, because your flesh, your meat suit, is just like everybody else's. Just like, there was this great question on Facebook the other day that said, someone asked, is one blade of grass a single individual, or is it like grass as a whole, like of the whole lawn, is that one organism? And in the comments, and this is what in the comments said, so I can't say for sure if it's true or not, but what they were saying is that they equated it to one single blade of grass as an individual and the whole lawn as a community. So we all still belong to the same root because we're all humans, right? But we still have our own individual characteristics. And if you take two blades of grass, you'll see that they are different. And so I think that's like what Thoth is kind of talking about here, that by figuring out what makes us unique and leaning into those differences instead of feeling ashamed or guilty or fearsome of those differences, to lean into them so that we can shine this light through the shadow of flesh. Then it says, shadows of darkness surround thee. Life fills thee with its flow. But know, O man, thou must arise, and forth thy body go, far to the plains that surround thee, and yet are one with thee too. Look all around thee, O man, see thine own light reflected. Aye, even in the darkness around thee, thine own light pours forth through the veil. So what this reminded me of is the song Mirror Ball by Taylor Swift. I found it so interesting that she says, I'm a mirror ball. I'm going to show you all of your different selves tonight. Why not say I'm going to show you all of my different selves tonight? Because as we know, like through the Eras tour, that she does have a lot of different selves, that she allows all of her selves to come out. And I think that's really beautiful. But in the song Mirror Ball, it's about you. Like, I'm going to show you, I'm a mirror ball. I can reflect my light so that you can find yourself within me. And I didn't talk about this when I went over the song I Look in People's Windows, because I didn't understand it then. But now, looking at that song again, when she's saying, I look in people's windows like some deranged weirdo trying to find you so that we could lock eyes. She's saying, like how they say that the windows are the eyes of the soul, so that she's looking at all these different guys, all these different suitors, if you will, and saying, like, I'm trying to find the little pieces of you in these other people so that I won't feel so alone, because the part that I connected with you, that was me, that's my soul, and it was just reflected back to me. And so I'm trying to find myself in other people, but I can't do it because you have that part that you have that special mirror that I need to see myself with. That line now I'm just like going on a little tangent here, but that line reminds me of Illicit Affairs, where she says that you taught me colors that only I can see, like I can't see them without you, something along those lines. But it's true, like when you're in a relationship, they're going to show you different parts of you that you wouldn't have known existed if you had not been in that relationship. And not necessarily in a relation, like a full-blown relationship, but even like in a situationship, or even in a friendship, or even if you just meet somebody and have this special connection where they do show you this different side of you, or a side of yourself that you may have forgotten, or a side of yourself that you didn't know existed. And so I think that's what's so important about us being a community, is that we're able to see how different people's lights will reflect onto us, so that we can learn more about ourselves. Because at the end of the day, that's what Thoth is telling us, is that we just have to learn about ourselves, and that's how we're going to be able to reach these higher levels of enlightenment. Now on to page 54. Seek thou for wisdom always, let not thine body betray. Interesting. So your body wants to be part of the group. It wants to be part of the community. And that's why we feel dead inside, people say that all the time. And it's because our souls are so captured. And Taylor Swift talks about this too. So you should go back and listen to, what song is Fresh Out the Slammer is a good one. Robin is a good one. Where she talks about this, that she had to hide a piece of herself in order to be in this relationship, and that was her body betraying her, and she should have been seeking this wisdom. Instead, this is what Thoth is saying now, she should have been seeking this wisdom. And actually Gabrielle Souchon talks about this too, that my upcoming book comes out October 25th. And so by diving into this wisdom, that's how we're not going to let our bodies betray us, by wanting to be part of the group. Or like feeling like you belong in some capacity in a group, or like with another person. Keep in the path of the light wave. Shun thou the darkened way. Know thee that wisdom is lasting, existing since the all soul began. So all soul is fully capitalized. So I believe this is talking about the infinite intelligence, also known as God, also known as the universe, also known as source. It's the all soul is how Thoth is referring to him here. Existing since the all soul began, creating harmony by the way the law that exists in the way. Interestingly, law is not fully capitalized, just the L, but way is. So what I'm thinking here is that since they're talking about what the law means with creating harmony, I think that it's saying like the way, fully capitalized, is the way back to source. A few episodes ago, I shared a theory that I had that the Big Bang is just a way for an entity to expand and allow all of its different pieces of itself to return back to it by bringing in new information to learn more about the self. So let me break down what I'm trying to say with that. So if we think about our God, think of him as a sun, like how Thoth mentioned him earlier, as the sun. So when a sun explodes, so going into like a supernova, all the little different pieces of it go throughout. And I was reading Clarissa Pinkola Estes's book, The Wild, how does it go? Women Who Run with Wolves. There we go. And she says that that's why people are into tarot and astrology and personality tests and all these other things, is because when we were born, all of our pieces of our soul kind of just scattered all over the place. And the whole point of life is to be able to bring back together all these different pieces of the soul. And so in that book, she's talking about it with bones, that the bones are like the soul. And so this witch in that book, she is collecting all of these bones of a wolf. And so finally, when she gets all the bones, she sings this song and the wolf comes back to life. Like the fur grows and then the body grows and then it's like fully alive. And so she equated it to ourselves, that we are just bones scattered, and we're just trying to find all these different pieces of ourselves so that we can put it together, so that we can breathe life into our soul and we can feel whole again. And that's why that there's so much, I don't want to say evil, but there's so many people that feel that they have to make the wrong decision, even though they know in their heart that it's the wrong decision, because they don't feel whole and they're trying to fill that hole, when all we really have to do is just find all the different pieces of ourselves. So I think by finding all the different pieces of ourselves, that's the way that Thoth is talking about here at the end of this stanza. Then he says, "List ye, O man, to the teachings of wisdom. List to the voice that speaks of the past time. I shall tell thee knowledge forgotten. Tell ye of wisdom hidden in past time, lost in the midst of darkness around me." So he's saying, like, the time from Atlantis or before that there's a lot of hidden knowledge, and he's trying to put it all together for us here so we can learn. "Know ye, man, ye are the ultimate of all things. Only the knowledge of this is forgotten. Lost when man was cast into bondage, bound and fettered by the chains of the darkness." So I wonder if he's talking about the body in this way, like cast into this bondage. So again, like we're trapping our soul inside of our body, and that makes us forget when we're born into this life, but that we are all things. And if you listen to my other podcast, ILA Radio, ILA, I'm talking about wanting to learn every single subject in order to learn more about myself and to use this knowledge that we were learning in school that just kind of got brushed aside, to relearn it and to integrate it into the soul. So again, with Mirror Ball by Taylor Swift, a mirror ball is like a disco ball, right? So it has all the different mirrors and tiny little fragments, and so you see yourself in different ways when you look at it. And I'm saying that each of those little square mirror pieces is another subject, that by learning about this subject, we're going to learn more about ourselves. And so that's what he's saying here, that ye are the ultimate of all things. Oh, okay, so that's actually a little different. I was thinking of it as we are all things into one, which it could still mean that. But the way I just read it right now makes it seem like we are the most important thing of all things. And so I read on Instagram the other day that when someone calls you selfish, it's actually a compliment, because we are in the society where sacrifice is the number one priority. That if you sacrifice enough, then that means that you're a good person and that you have a good life. But that's actually not the case. And I actually equated it a long time ago here on Grounded Spirits on my Instagram. I equated it with like human sacrifice of like the Aztecs or the Druids, where they really believed that they had to take out the soul of somebody by taking out the heart, because they thought that the heart was where the soul was kept. By taking out the heart, and it actually kind of is in a way, because the heart really is the body of the soul. So that's interesting to think about. But anyway, so by taking out the heart, that is how they could take out the soul, and the soul is supposed to be this good thing that it could find it. So they were like freeing the soul of this body so that it can go back up to God. And then they thought by it reaching back to source that they were going to be blessed in return. When in reality, all we really need to know is that we are the ultimate, like things wouldn't exist without us. And there's a reason why we're here, that it's not just by accident that we were born and that we're living here today, that there's a reason for it. And the whole point is to learn how to free the soul. and to learn how to become formless. No, how to become formed by being formless. How to be yourself without a body. Okay, here we go. So the next stanza says, long, long ago, I cast off my body, wandered I free through the vastness of ether, circled the angles that hold man in bondage. Know ye, O man, ye are only a spirit. The body is nothing. The soul is all. And all is fully capitalized, meaning that the soul is divine. Let not your body be a fetter, so don't let it be a cage. Cast off the darkness and travel in light. Cast off your body, O man, and be free. Truly a light that is one with the light. So it's saying to completely get rid of your body. I wouldn't go that far. I think that we need to learn. I think that the law that he was talking about earlier, I think that the law is to become one with the body. That why are we trying to fight this beautiful meat suit that holds us together? Why are we trying to be free and to just be a soul? Then if we're just a soul, we won't be able to feel. I think that's what it comes down to. We won't be able to feel. We won't be able to actually be human. And I think in tablet number 7, when they're talking about the 7 lords, I think that they were kind of jealous that they don't have a body. They've never had a body. They were always just, as far as they can remember, they were the formless formed. So I think it's such a blessing to have this human experience and to love our bodies and thank our bodies for allowing us to have this kind of experience instead of always hating on our bodies. So when ye are free from the fetters of darkness and travel in space as the son of the light, then ye shall know the space is not boundless, but truly bounded by angles and curves. Know ye, O man, that all exists. I messed that up. Know ye, O man, that all that exists is only an aspect of greater things yet to come. Matter is fluid and flows like a stream, constantly changing from one thing to another. And so I find it surprising that he's saying the body is nothing, because I feel like our body allows us to feel this, that our body is the matter that is fluid, that is constantly changing. And by constantly changing ourselves, our bodies, our mindsets, by constantly changing, that's how we're going to reach this kind of level. That's how we're going to reach self-actualization and the self-transcendence and everything else I was talking about earlier, is by allowing our bodies to partake in this change. Instead of just discarding our bodies and saying, it's unchanging. I think that our bodies can change. And there are girls on Instagram that will tell you this, that by massaging their faces, they were able to completely change they reconstructed their face without any surgeries, literally just by massaging. And I've even done it to myself. I could show you pictures of what I looked like a year ago, 2 years ago, compared to now. I'm still not where I want to be, but I can see the small changes, and I'm really thankful for them. Then he says, when ye are free from the fetters of darkness and travel in space as the son of the light, then ye shall know that space is not boundless, but truly bounded by angles and curves. Know ye, O man, that all that exists. That's weird. I was like, this sounds familiar. But yeah, it's written twice. So I don't know if that was just a mistake from this PDF, or if that's what it actually is saying in the tablets, but to emphasize it. But yeah, it was there twice. So we're gonna keep going. All through the ages has knowledge existed, never been changed, though buried in darkness, never been lost, but forgotten by man. And this is wild because he's writing this at the time that the Great Pyramid was built, Giza. So if he's saying that there's knowledge that has been lost and forgotten by men at that time, imagine how much has been lost and forgotten by man at this time, thousands of years later. So that's insane to think about, like how much knowledge is really out there. And that's why people say that polymathy doesn't exist anymore, which is what my other podcast, Ela Radio, is trying to bring back. But they say that polymathy can't exist, that we had to hyper-specialize because there's just so much knowledge out there that it's not possible for a person to be able to accumulate it all. And that's the whole point of Ela Radio, is to show you how to just by opening your eyes, not by taking a course or reading a book or any of that kind of stuff, but just by opening your eyes and ingesting knowledge in small bites, like through Instagram. Every single day on my Instagram page called Ela Institute, I post about a new topic and teach you about it just by posts that I find on the topic. And I have been learning so much about these topics. So yeah, I definitely would recommend to listen to the podcast, to follow that page if you want to learn more about everything. Because like I said, yes, it's going to show you more about yourself, but it's also going to just allow you to understand more people. And maybe, okay, so let me tell you a little background first. So Thoth, during one of his reincarnations, he came back as Hermes, who started like the Hermetics. And so the Hermetics is it's kind of like a sister to like Gnosticism, Hermeticism. They're all like esoteric knowledge, but I think that they do share a lot of forgotten knowledge that we do need to incorporate into our lives. So it would make sense that that's what he's talking about here. Then he goes on to say, "Know ye that throughout the space that ye dwell in are others as great as your own, interlaced through the heart of your matter, yet separate in space of their own." So I don't know if he's talking about another human, how we all have a heart, we all have the same kind of ethics. We all have this sense of what's good and what's bad. And it doesn't matter from what culture you're from, or what time period, or what gender, or what race. I feel like we all know what is right and what is wrong. And I think that the whole point of being human, the reason why we have laws and stuff, is to kind of like, where's the line of what's ethical for our community, for our culture, compared to somebody else's. Because something that's not okay here in America might be perfectly normal somewhere else. And so looking into why is it accepted somewhere else, and should it be accepted here in the United States, or vice versa. "Once in a long time forgotten, I Thoth opened the doorway, penetrated into other spaces, and learned of the secrets concealed. Deep in the essence of matter are many mysteries concealed. 9 are the interlocked dimensions, and 9 are the cycles of space. 9 are the diffusions of consciousness, and 9 are the worlds within worlds. 9 are the lords of the cycles that come from above and below." So this reminds me of the angel numbers, like 999, meaning like the end of a cycle. And so it's just like interesting that it's like a magic number. Oh, it's also like Nikola Tesla with 369, saying that those are the magical numbers, that everything kind of spawns off from these. So it's interesting that 3 and 6 actually make up 9. And so it's saying here that like 9 is the number that is of everything. Moving on, it says, space is filled with concealed ones, for space is divided by times. Seek ye the key to the time space. I'm gonna say that again. Seek ye the key to the time space, and ye shall unlock the gate. Know ye that throughout the time space, consciousness surely exists. Interesting. So it's saying that concealed ones, is that saying like spirits? And then space is divided by time, so that makes me think of like Chronos, the Greek god. Right, yeah, Chronos is Greek, and then Saturn is the same being, but for Romans. But it's saying that by seeking the key to time space, so that's what we're going to find out, I guess, what the key to time space is, but then that's how we're going to find this consciousness. Interesting. Okay. Though from our knowledge it is hidden and still forever exists. So it's saying like even if we don't know that it's there, we have to believe that it's there. So I think it's like with God too. Like we can't say for facts that God is there, but we can know that he exists, even though like the exact proof of him is hidden from our knowledge. The key to worlds within thee are found only within. Okay, see, so I was right. He's going to tell us where the key is. So I think what he's saying is that by getting to know ourselves, by separating our true self from the rest of society, from the rest of like the limitations that society places on us, whether through the government, through church, through our parents, through community members, through friends, like with peer pressure, by finding out who we truly are, that's how we can unlock this key to time and space, to know that it truly exists and to acquire this knowledge. For man is the gateway of mystery and the key that is one with the one. Again, one is capitalized here, so by becoming our true self, becoming our one, so like having like the ego just means I, the one, with the one, so with God, then that's how we're going to be able to unlock this time space that he's talking about, or unlock this knowledge that leads to time space. Seek ye within the circle, use the word I shall give you. Open the gateway within thee, and surely thou too shall live. So use the word. I think this means like the law. Word is fully capitalized here, so it could be like the Bible. This is before the Bible was even written. But the word of God, that the only way to acquire this word of God is to seek within, because God, our soul is divine, which is part of God, and our soul will lead us to the way. And again, remember a couple of stanzas ago, it said that way was fully capitalized, so that there's only one true way to go back to source, and that is by listening to the soul. And that's what he was saying, like the body is nothing, because the body wants to belong. The body is the one that has these feelings to want to belong and to not be different, because back in the day, it depended on survival. The body is just here to keep you alive. Moving on to page 56, it says, Man ye think that ye liveth, but know it is life within death. For as sure as ye are bound to your body, for you no life exists. Only the soul is space free, has life that is really a life. All else is only a bondage, a fetter from which to be free. So it's saying, so this would be like negative freedom, that you're trying to be free from these constraints. And the only way to become free from negative freedom is to seek within and get to the positive freedom. And that's what the book is about, the one that's coming out October 25th of 2024. It is titled freedom, love, and knowledge. And so it's really just like an exploration of what does this mean to be free. And I don't want to give anything away, so read the book. Okay. But it's basically about this stanza here, about understanding, like, when is bondage good? When is it bad? When is it imposing on our freedom? When is it allowing us to love that human side of ourselves that needs bondage? Without love, you could love yourself all you want, but as a human, you need love from another. Whether it be from a parent, from a spouse, from a child, from a sibling, from a community member, from whoever. That we are social creatures and we need a community. We need that love, the outer love. Think not that man is earth-born. Though come from the earth he may be, man is light-born spirit, but without knowing he can never be free. Darkness surrounds the light-born, darkness fetters the soul. Only the one who is seeking may ever hope to be free. So again, so many people are just going through the motions. They're on autopilot. If you think of the movie Click with Adam Sandler, he missed out on his whole life because he just put it on autopilot. And I feel like so many people today live their life through autopilot Monday through Friday, and then come the weekend, they try to come out and be themselves. And I feel like that's why so many people do drugs or drink alcohol, like get intoxicated, to try to allow that inner self to come out. But there's just so much baggage on top of us by going through that autopilot, by going through that routine, that it's hard to be our true self, because we have to act in a certain way to be accepted by our peers, or be accepted at a job, or to be accepted in society. And yeah, so it's all about coming back to who you truly are. And again, here, I think when he's talking about darkness, he's talking about the body. So he's saying, like, we think that we're earthborn because of our body, but we're really just spirit, just the soul. And actually, they are different. But I've talked about that a lot of times. And if you want to learn more about that, I don't know when this book is coming out, but it'll come out eventually. And it's called The Atlantean Inner Map. And that's where I really go into detail of what's the difference between the soul, mind, body, and spirit, and how do I put this? I'm going to get a little tiny bit, little baby tangent here. So many people have mental health issues because our society only focuses on the mind and strengthening the mind, when we still have the soul, the spirit, and the body that need attention. And I think, like, now the body has been getting a little bit more attention, like feel your feelings, do these mindful practices, or like go to the gym. So many more people are going to the gym and working out and doing that kind of stuff. But I feel like people are doing it to look good instead of to feel good. And there's a big difference with that, because you will never think that you look good if you're just doing it for the looks, because there's always going to be something that you want to change. Will Tennyson has a great YouTube video about this, where he's a bodybuilder. He has a great body, yet he doesn't like how his tricep. I'm just making this up, but he said something. He doesn't like this. He wants to work on this. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to keep working on your body, but to what end? You know? Whereas if you just do it to feel good, then that's the end, right? You did your workout, you feel good, you feel pumped, awesome. Then you go back and do it again because it feels good, not because you're trying to get somewhere. And I think that's like the big difference there. But what about the soul and the spirit? No one really talks about those two. And so that's what the Atlantean Inner Map is, to help guide you to strengthen all sides of you so that you don't feel that you're giving from an empty cup, that you can replenish yourself, that you can have this abundance. I'm going to keep going down this little tangent here just because I really want to say this, that I'm reading this book by Machiavelli. Oh, not by him, like someone's like talking about him. Like it's called The Power of Machiavelli. And basically Machiavelli, he was he wrote The Prince. He was a ruler in Italy around the Renaissance, a little before the Renaissance. But anyway, he's the one that famously said, "I'd rather be feared than loved," because he was just concerned with keeping the state together. And I'm saying that that's settling. If you ask anybody, you would rather be loved. Why would you want to be feared? Why? By being feared, that means that you're being ostracized. But he was trying to he was trying to do the sacrifice thing that I was talking about earlier. We're all just trying to sacrifice. And like, where has that led us? Look all around us. You know, like, why not be loved? And I think that he says, "I'd rather be feared than loved." Like, I haven't finished the book, so I don't know yet. But I think that he says that because he doesn't think that it's possible to be loved by all, but he can be feared by all. But I'm saying, why not? Why not have a whole nation of people who love their ruler? Why is that so far-fetched? You know? Like, why can't we come together and say, oh, we, like, how not everyone, but a lot of people came together and said, oh, that's not my president when Trump took office. Why can't we do that, like, for the next president? And say, wow, like, all of us, we all really love him, and that's why we're so proud to be Americans. Like, I don't know why that's so far-fetched to be loved. I feel like it's settling to say I'd rather be feared. Anyway, moving on. Enough with the tangent. Let's keep going here. So then it says, shadows around thee are falling. Darkness fills all the space. Shine forth, O light of man's soul. Fill thou the darkness of space. Ye are son of the great light. Remember, and ye shall be free. Stay not thou in the shadows, spring forth from the darkness of night. Light, I'm going to say it again. They only say light one time, I just messed up. Okay. It says, light, let thy soul be, O son born. Fill the glory of light, freed from the bonds of darkness, a soul that is one with the light. So I think here he's just repeating himself, so I'm going to be repeating myself, but I just wanted to point out that O light, great light, and O son born are all fully capitalized. So again, just saying that our soul is of God, and if God has this great light, we can have this great light. I have been using this metaphor through a couple of these episodes now, talking about the tablets, about having a candle at a football stadium. If you just have one little candle, sure, you can see maybe like 2 feet around you. Like if you're in the center, it'd be like the radius 2 feet in all directions you can see around you. But if you have more people, then it's more lights, and it just goes on like that. Here he's saying that your little candle, because it is of God, the great light, that your little candle, like meaning yourself, that you have the power to light up the whole entire football stadium alone. And that's what he's calling us, the sun. O sun born, fill the glory of light. So, yeah, that we can spread our light. A great example of this is Legally Blonde. So I watched it this weekend, number 1 and number 2. I didn't watch the Legally Blondes, like the spinoff or whatever. But maybe I will soon. But anyway, Elle Woods, she is a ball of sunshine. And in it, she says that she's a Gemini. So I actually went further and I'm saying that she's a Gemini sun, a Sagittarius moon, which is how she's so good at law. It's like her passion, her light, right? And then a Leo rising, because not only Leo risings, they have this inner light, but they don't know how to use it for themselves. They like to put the light onto others. And I feel like that's what Elle likes to do, how she is always like helping people and making them feel special. Like that's like a very Leo rising thing to do. And that Sagittarius moon allows her to be like super smart and lawyerly while also being fashionable and bringing all that kind of stuff together. And of course, a Gemini loves doing a little of everything. So it's like this, I don't know a better word, but like a mishigosh of everything together. And so that's why I gave her those. I believe that those are her signs. But with that, the whole point is that she's such a ball of sunshine, but people are mean to her. People do look down upon her. People do say that she's not serious. People do try to belittle her or try to put out her light. But it doesn't matter. She keeps going. And that's like what Thoth is talking about here. Shine forth, O light of the man's soul. Fill thou the darkness of space. So like her light is just going to keep growing and growing and growing. No matter what. Springing forth in the darkness of night. So yeah, I thought that she was a great example. Moving on, it says, thou art the key to all wisdom. Within thee is all time and space. Live not in bondage to darkness. Free thou thy light form from night. Great light that fills all the cosmos, flow thou fully to man. Make of his body a light torch that shall never be quenched among men. So quenched, the way I think about that word is like when your thirst is quenched. Oh, okay, so it is like a putting out of. So yeah, so he's saying, I feel like this is like kind of like a prayer. Like he's asking God, like, please, like fill up these men that I'm trying to teach. Fill them up with your light. So that they can become an eternal flame and it can never be quenched by another person. Like we can have this light, like how with Elle Woods, how no matter what, it will never be quenched. That she's going to keep being herself. She's going to keep using fashion to solve these things and to bring people together. Long in the past sought I wisdom, knowledge not known to man. Far to the past I traveled, into the space where time began. Sought I ever knew knowledge to add to the wisdom I knew. Oh, okay. So he's looking for knowledge that he didn't know to add to the wisdom that he does know. So that's what he traveled. Yet only I found did the future hold the key to the wisdom I thought. Down to the holes of Amenti. That's interesting because it's always been halls of Amenti and it's fully capitalized. And before I continue, lords and cycles, all and nine are all fully capitalized, and light. They're all fully capitalized in this stanza. Down to the holes of Amenti I journeyed, the greater knowledge to seek. Ask of thee, lords of the cycles. They weigh to the wisdom I sought. Asked the lords this question, where is the source of all? Answered in tones that were mighty, the voice of the Lord of the Nine. Free thou thy soul from thy body, and come forth with me to the light. Forth I came from my body, a glittering flame in the night. Stood I before the Lord, bathed in the fire of life. Seized was I then by a force, great beyond knowledge of man. Cast was I to the abyss. through spaces unknown to man. Saw I the moldings of order from the chaos of angles of night. Saw I the light spring from order, and heard the voice of the light. Saw I the flame of the abyss, casting forth order and light. Saw order spring out of chaos, saw light giving forth life. Then I heard the voice, hear thou and understand. The flame is the source of all things, containing all things in potentiality. The order that sent forth light is the Word, and from the Word come life and the existence of all. I need to pause here for a second, because this is his story, right? So he's saying like he went down to the holes of Amenti to talk to the lords of the 7 lords that we talked about in tablet number 7. And he asked the question, where is the source of all? So all is God. So like where does God come from? Basically is what he's asking. And what they did is they took him to this flame. And through this flame is how order and light, and how order came out of chaos, and how light was giving life. And so this is like very reminiscent of how Genesis starts off, right? Like let there be light, and then there was, and coming out of the chaos was the light. So it's so interesting because the sequel to my book Monterey is called Monterey, the Eternal Flame. And this is where, I'm not going to give it away, but where Reina and one of the guys that she's talking to is where in a past life they had met in this light, in this flame, in this eternal flame. They had met and they had chosen each other from before they were ever reincarnated into either Liam, Adonis, and Reina. So it's so crazy that like I already wrote this separately, and like now here I am reading like basically the same thing that I had already thought of, which is like wild to me. But I think that is how you know that it's true. That different minds, thousands of years apart, are coming to the same conclusion when talking about God and talking about how it all began. And it's just through this eternal flame. And if you think about it, like think about the sun. Like obviously the sun is not eternal. It will eventually go out millions of years from now. But that doesn't negate the fact that there are millions, if not billions or trillions of stars out there that this eternal flame lives inside of. So it's like, is there an eternal flame at the beginning of time or outside of our understanding of time? It's really cool to think about. Okay. Then he says, then I heard a voice. Hear thou and understand. The flame is the source of all things, containing all things in potentiality. The order that sent forth light is the Word, and from the Word come life and the existence of all. And again spoke the voice, saying, the life in thee is the Word. Find thou the life within thee, and have powers to use the Word. So what he's saying here, so again here, Word and come life and the life and just life, they're all fully capitalized. So what he's saying here is that by going within and by understanding who you truly are outside of everybody else, because really nobody else exists. It's really just you, and everybody else is just a reflection of you. And so if you don't like somebody, it's just that you don't like yourself. And so if by learning more about yourself, then you're going to be able to like them. And then it's like this whole thing. So what he's saying here is that by going within, by learning who you are, that's how you're going to be able to hear the Word. And that's how God is going to be able to guide you. Because your soul is made up of the same stuff that God is made of, which is this eternal flame. Long I watched the light flame pouring forth from the essence of fire, realizing that life but order and that man is one with the fire. Which is exactly what I just said. Back I came to my body, stood again with the 9. Listened to the voice of the cycles, vibrate with powers they spoke. Know ye, O Thoth, that life is but the word of the fire. That's interesting to think about. So, when someone dies, it's because their fire of this life has been put out. But I don't think that that's possible. That's why they say that the soul is eternal. That's where the flame resides. So when you die in this life, it's just that your body can no longer hold your soul. Okay. The life forth ye seek before thee is but the word in the world as a fire. Seek ye the path to the word, and powers shall surely be thine. Then asked I of the 9, O Lord, show me the path. Give the path to the wisdom. Show me the way to the word. Answered me then the Lord of the 9. Through order ye shall find the way. Saw ye that the word came from chaos? Saw ye not that light came from fire? So, Lord of the 9 is fully capitalized, and so I think it's like the key's like the main guy. Like how he was saying earlier that like 9 is like that special number, so like 9 is like the head honcho. So he's saying like through order you can find your way. And that actually makes sense, because if you are just a leaf, so like going back to grounded spirits, if we just focus on the fly high part, then we won't really have a path. We're just kind of like wherever the wind will blow us. I am a Sagittarius moon, and so it's like common to attribute the whole catch flights, not feelings mantra to Sagittarius's, specifically Sagittarius moons. It's about the feelings. But I think that's why it's so important to have this groundedness, or like this stay rootedness, to be able to, so that's like the order, right? To be able to have the responsibility, to be able to be grounded. I don't know a better word to say it. I would say, or stay rooted, but like to actually like plant roots. I don't know, like these are the words that we use because that's the only way to really describe it. And I feel like that's like what this order that the Lord of the 9 is talking about, that by being grounded, by planting roots and knowing who you are and having your values, and that's how you're going to find the way, by listening to your intuition and knowing right from wrong and what feels good. Like everyone thinks that my husband and I were crazy because we're so intuitive as a couple that we've only been able to make spontaneous decisions. Like when we both feel it, like we feel like, hey, this is the right thing, we do it, and it's always come back positive. We've never been in a situation where our instincts led us astray. And I think that's like what the whole like staying rooted is, that we're rooted within each other. And so it's that order that we have with each other, like this like unspoken law that we're both going to go for it full force. And I think that's how we've been able to find our way to where we're at today. Look in thine life for this order. Balance and order thy life. Quell all the chaos of the emotions, and thou shalt have order in life. So emotions are typically characterized as being connected to water, and order would be earth. So I think it's like balancing the emotions, or like, ordering the emotions. That's interesting, because I feel like Taylor Swift does a great job of categorizing and ordering her emotions in her songs. And that's why so many of us have said that listening to the Tortured Poets Department has been so healing, because it heals us by being able to understand our emotions, to be able then to connect with them. Because you need both. You can't just categorize without connecting, and you can't connect without categorizing. I watched, this is so random, but I watched School Night, or Night School, last night with Kevin Hart, and he's about to lose his fiance, and she says, like, because he thought that she was all about, like, the material, so he was like, oh, like, you're not gonna love me if I don't have, like, this fancy car, or blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, well, if you don't know me, then how can you love me? And I think that goes to show, like, with anything, like, if we don't take the time to get to learn somebody or something, how can we love it? So when we dissect a plant and know about, like, its cell walls and mitosis and a stem and how photosynthesis takes place, with the chlorophyll and, like, all of these different parts of a plant, we were learning about all the different parts so that we can love all these different parts. But in Western society, we just learn it and then forget it and then we move on. When it's like you only came halfway. And then we wonder why the environmental crisis is occurring. And it's because we only met it halfway. We learned about it in order to control it, not to love it. And I think that's what we need to get to. We need to, like, good thing, yes, we learned it, awesome, that's great. Now let's take it the next step and actually love it. So I think that's what Thoth is talking about here. He's saying, like, quell all the chaos of the emotions. Like, having emotions is chaotic. So he's saying, let's dissect it. Let's break it down. Let's understand it so that we can love it. And then it says, and thou shalt have order in thy life. Order brought forth from chaos will bring thee the word of the source. Will thee the power of cycles, and make of thy soul a force that free will extend through the ages, a perfect sun from the source. So yeah, he's saying you have to be in control of your emotions and you'll be able to, like, unlock all this cool stuff. Listened I to the voice. So the voice would be like that intuition I was just talking about. And deep thanked the words in my heart. Forever have I sought for order, that I might draw on the word. Know ye that he who attains it must ever in order be for use. Of the word through this order has never and can never be. Take ye these words, O man, as part of thy life, let them be. Seek thee to conquer this order, and one with the word thou shalt be. So this part's a little tricky, but here's what I've come up with. So it says, know ye that he who attains it must ever in order be for use of the order of the word, of the word, though this order has never and can never be. So it's saying, like, you can only get the word if you put your emotions in order, but you're never going to be able to, is basically what it's saying. You're never going to be able, like, this order, how does it say it? Though this order has never and can never be. But what's weird is that the first order is fully capitalized, but the second order is not. So he's saying, like, there is this level of perfection, but we as humans are never going to be able to attain that perfection. So I think it's like going the difference between God's level of order and our level of order. Like, we're never going to be able to reach that God level of order until we no longer have a body, because God doesn't have a body. And so while we have a body, emotions are always going to be chaotic. They're always going to come up out of nowhere. But he's saying, like, the process of ordering them is how we're going to hear the word, the voice of intuition, of God, and that's how we're going to be able to find the way to light. And then it ends on page 59 by saying, "Put forth thy effort in gaining light on the pathway of life. Seek to be one with the sun/state. Seek to be solely the light. Hold thou thy thought on the oneness of light with the body of man." I'm going to read that one more time. "Hold thou thy thought on the oneness of light with the body of man." Okay, so this is what I was saying, exactly what I mean by grounded spirits. So the grounded part is the body of man, right? And then the spirit part is the light. And so if we think about it with stay rooted and fly high, or stay rooted while flying high, that's what he's saying here, that hold on to thy thought on oneness. So the oneness of our soul being one with God and with the body of man. So bringing them together. Know that all is order from chaos, born into light. So being okay that things are chaotic. Allowing things to be chaotic because it was born from light, or born into light. Know that all is order from chaos, born into light. Yeah. So everything is born into light, and we just have to love it. And then so we just have to love it. Yes. And so in order to love something, we have to understand it. We have to know where these emotions are coming from. Why are we feeling this way? And really allowing us to feel them full-heartedly, not push them down, and being able to release them when they no longer serve us. But the thing is that when there are icky feelings, we like to just push them down and we'll get to them later. We'll deal with it later. And then that's how then fat gets stored on your body, because you no longer feel safe because you're stuffing these emotions down. We have to be able to release this and to be able to feel safe within our body, become one with our body, us being the light, become one with this earth body, and give it that safety and just love it by learning about it. So that is all I have for you today for tablet number 9, the key to freedom of space. So the key is just to look within and to order your emotions in order to be able to hear the word of God or of your own intuition, which I think is the same thing, but some people might think is different. And that's how you'll find your way, go into the light, keep growing, and that's how you know that everything's going to be okay as long as you keep growing. Alrighty then, next week we are going to get to read tablet number 10, which is titled The Key of Time. So that shall be super interesting, and we are almost done with this series. So there are 15 tablets, but the last two, 14 and 15, they were added after, or there was some kind of note. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. It says supplementary tablet. So really there's only 13. So let me just redo those really quick. So we have tablet 10, the key of time, tablet 11, the key to above and below, tablet 12, the law of cause and effect and the key of prophecy, and then tablet 13, the keys of life and death. And then we have the supplementary tablet 14, which is Atlantis, and the supplementary tablet 15, secrets of secrets. So that is what I have for you today. I will see you next week to learn all about the key of time. And if you learned something today, please give this podcast a 5-star review. And see you next week, everybody. Bye.